Last night on HBO was the premiere of the documentary George Clooney put together, Surviving OSU. And it talks about the subject, Richard Strauss, former OSU doctor, sports doctor, and what he did, raped, molested students later on because OSU, I don't know, for some reason thought he should get a promotion at some point when this stuff started coming out in the 90s. So they promoted him. And then he started with students as well. Just an absolute disgrace for this university.
Boggles the mind.
And he had lockers in 15 different male sports, but he seemed to focus on the OSU wrestlers. And let's talk to two former OSU wrestlers who are in the documentary, by the way. First ever UFC heavyweight champ, Mark Coleman. Mike DiSabato. What's up, guys? Thanks for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
What's up, brother?
A lot of attention with the drop of this film.
It's been overwhelming, frankly.
I assume so. I would assume so.
Did you guys both go to Tribeca Film Festival and see it?
Yes, sir.
Were you guys afraid, or was there any fear, or maybe fear of the unknown? Because it's a human, your guys are human. Despite being, Mark's in chiseled shape. His bicep is the size of my head.
Like a canned ham.
Was there any fear or nervousness when you had to watch it, or even watch it last night?
I don't think so. I'll speak for myself, and I think Mark would agree. It wasn't. We lived it. And for me, it was finally, we've got something that the world can see, and it's vindication for us. 7 years ago, Mark and I were, the two guys that came forward and really pushed this, March of 2018. And, we took a lot of abuse and so Tribeca last Monday. The guys, all the guys in the film were there with their spouses. And I can just say for me, it was the most proud I've ever been to be a part of a group, the best team I've ever been on.
Did, when you guys did this and got together, with this, did it tell the story correctly? Was there anything you wanted in that wasn't in?
No, Ava did a wonderful job. It was amazing to watch, and there's no fear. I just accept all the stuff that happened, but basically getting sober has been 4 years, 3 months now, and since I got sober, I don't have any fear. So. It definitely helps me deal with all this much better.
Let me get into that real quick, Mark. And if you didn't know, Mark's been sober for a long time. Did what happened to you with Dr. Strauss cause? Because a lot of guys talked about it in the documentary, how they turned to alcohol, how they quit. It turned into depression. They thought they were lesser people, whatever it was. There was a lot of heavy stuff in that documentary. Do you think, Mark, that what he did could have triggered your drinking?
Well, it sure didn't help, but I had many issues to deal with. They all added up, and alcoholism's a disease, so it was there. But it definitely maybe pushed it forward more faster.
Help me understand. In 2018, when you two guys made the phone call and got
they made a film,
and yes. And decided to come forward with this. You say, the criticism and the pushback you guys got. What is the motivate? What is the other side? These people that would criticize. What is there to criticize? What are they saying that why you shouldn't? Or is it out of embarrassment because they themselves are victims? Or
well,
they call us liars. We made it up. Fuck. Oops.
But were they saying that it was a money grab or what?
Well, that was,
but they weren't the victims that were saying that, because if you were a victim and you weren't speaking up, what's the mindset there?
Well, number one,
that's crazy.
I think there were guys that were victimized, who actually attacked us.
Wow.
There was a schism within the community of guys that, didn't want this to go forward.
Let sleeping dogs lie type thing.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Didn't want to hear about
in denial, right?
And there was an element, when this went national, when Jim Jordan got involved in July of 2018, it really took a life of its own, and they were just guys that first of all,
It just separated everybody. They had to either
Right.
take me and Mike's side or Jim Jordan's side. So
Yeah.
turn people into cowards.
Yes.
Politics comes into
Politics,
it.
when you get
and
politics,
your love of the university.
that's a big
I mean,
part
my
of it.
gosh.
There was this originally it was you're attacking Ohio State, and that's
Jim
further
Jordan's
from
denial.
yeah.
But one thing I take from that interview, guys, and let's get this out, all you guys still love Ohio State,
Amen.
correct?
Sure.
Mark, you love Ohio State?
Yeah, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I say this, Torg, we are Ohio State. I competed there. My family has 36 varsity O's.
Your brother, who's in the documentary, what, 2-time national champion, correct?
3-time NCAA
Yeah.
All-American. He was the first 3-time All-American in Ohio State Ohio State wrestling history. Again, the university, they can't take that away from us. This group, our group, that's part of who we are.
So go back when this was going on and you guys mentioned in the documentary that was kind of an open joke. You had nicknames for him. Take us back through theirs. Was this something that was talked about a lot? Just because he had a locker right in there and he would shower 5 times. So you guys would get done training, shower. He was doing his thing. I won't get too graphic. Mm-hmm. And then he would go and sit down, and then he would see another group of guys and then go back and shower, correct? And this was every day?
Well, yes.
Yes, every day, pretty much.
He had...
Give or take a day or two.
So, yes, he had a locker in our room, which, frankly, was right next to Jim Jordan and Russ Ellickson. He also had lockers in there's like 15 sports. He had one in gymnastics. He had one in swimming. He literally spent his day going from one locker room to the next. And
Did you know this at the time that he had other lockers in the other sports? Okay.
Oh, yeah. And all this was approved by the university administration. And, I can tell you one story. I was at practice, came down, took a shower. Doc had taken a shower. We're back in the locker room. He's dressing to go do his next thing. I remember he's fixing his tie. One of the guys that was one of his favorites had stayed up in the training room, done some extra work, was coming down, saw him walking in the locker room, and I've never seen it. Was just crazy. Doc immediately stopped, started to take his clothes back off, and literally went back in the shower within 20 minutes of taking the first one. So
this happened all the time.
Yeah.
And so Russ Hellickson, who was your coach, and then Jim Jordan was the assistant coach. Because in the documentary, Russ said that he talked to Dr. Strauss. Do you believe him?
Yes.
Okay, so he said something to you're being too handsy, whatever it was. He made a comment, and it was just Russ, as far as you know, go above talking to Dr. Strauss? Did he take it to the university?
Yes. I mean, he had conversations. Andy Geiger was quoted in the Washington Post, and I think 22 or 23, a big article done by David Marinus, Pulitzer Prize winner. And Andy had said, Russ had come to me on multiple occasions about the facility in Larkins Hall, the fact that Doc was taking showers all the time, and that he was doing. The guys weren't comfortable going to him for physicals and regular checks. So yeah, it was. These complaints were made, and Andy, to his credit, in the article said, "Listen, we just didn't know how to handle this kind of stuff at that time. This is pre-Anita Hill. I mean, think about this is at a time where we weren't talking about male on female sexual abuse. Now you add male on male elite male athlete sexual abuse, and it's just
wasn't
because that stuff didn't happen, so people didn't. I told the story yesterday. My gym teacher would have the towels and make us jump out of the shower, and we just would make fun. Oh, Mr. Gravel's making you jump 3 times, and we didn't know at the time. It was 1987. You just thought, all right, Gravel's weird, but you never put 2 and 2 together.
What This happened to you?
No. Well, he was our gym teacher.
Yeah.
We would shower, and then after gym, most of the teachers would put towels, and you grab a towel, and you go change. Well, he would hold the towel. You couldn't get a towel unless you got one from the teacher, and he would make you jump for it.
Torg, think about this.
And we just thought we would go goof around like, I'm not showering today. Like wasn't a Strauss, but he was hold the showers, and we just thought, goofed around like, oh, Grabble's going to make you do 3 jumps today.
Torg, think about this. Would we be having this conversation today if this didn't happen, if we didn't come forward on Strauss?
Probably not.
I've had the most rewarding thing about doing this, and it's been a tough 7 years. I'll take this to my grave. So many guys have come up to me, whether it was the Catholic Church or the Boy Scouts, and share with me for the first, they feel comfortable being able to say,
Right.
me too.
Right.
And again, you're another example of someone saying, I had something like this happen to me, and we're now talking about it. And this is an epidemic, guys. I mean, sexual abuse. I'll use Cain Velasquez as an example. He's doing time in federal prison in California because his son was assaulted in a youth daycare center.
Well, he went after the guy.
Well, he did. But
Yes,
my point is,
Yeah. I don't blame him. By the way, I don't blame him. I did the same thing.
But my point is that Ray Leonard's was sexually abused as a kid. Kayla Harrison, who just won the belt for the UFC, talks about how she was assaulted as a 10-year-old. Mike Tyson, I know was another one. It's we just this is an important, very important conversation to have.
Yeah. Given the amount of years and the amount of victims, it's surprising to me that one guy was having didn't knock him on his ass. That now, what you would think, given those numbers, right? That Mark, I mean, I'm looking at you. In hindsight, certainly, right? But at the time, there was just the Olympics. You had
It just wasn't an option.
It wasn't an option. Yeah.
I'm there to win a national championship.
Sure.
And
Sure.
it's just amazing how many people had to look the other way for these guys to get away with this all over the country and the world. They're a group. They talk to each other. These doctors come to the university and share people with them,
Yeah, because you had Nassau at Michigan State.
Mm-hmm.
Michigan
That's how this came out. I was following Michigan State big time. My daughter was a gymnast, so I was following that case inside and out. And I actually just called Mike, and I'm telling him all about the situation, and he put it together. It didn't even think to me like this happened to me because just man on man. It didn't seem like it was an option. And gay bashing was just getting big, and we were warned by Coach Hellickson to be careful, and I had a tough time doing that. I yelled out at these guys many times in the shower, told them to get the hell out of there, take a shower, get the hell out of there.
Right.
And next thing you know, my name's written all over the wall, for a good time. Call this guy because they found out who the big mean guy was. I wasn't intimidated.
So we should point out too, the coaches knew. In all the sports, the trainers knew, and his fellow doctors knew. Correct.
Everybody knew.
Everybody knew.
Like
knew.
a fraternity.
It just. When I say everybody. I had a friend of mine who was a non-student, and she actually dated my brother back in the day, and she was, she's 60 now, and she sent me a text recently. She's like, listen, I knew about this stuff because one of our ways of dealing with the trauma was to joke about it. And so, I can remember over the years, I've done it myself where we'd be with a group of guys and we'd be, chuckling, trying to deal with the trauma with humor. This guy, can you believe it? It just that's the way we dealt with it. And, everybody knew this. He was doing unnecessary genital exams. He was doing unnecessary prostate exams. And he was taking up to 5, 6, 7 showers a day under the guise of medical doctor and all under the supervision and the authority of the Ohio State University Athletic Department.
Did he was involved? Football, did he have a locker at the football? Because do you think if you guys were football players, the university would have handled things differently? Because you're wrestling,
that's a good
because it's a football university, right?
Yeah.
And they talk about the tradition of Woody Hayes and all that, and the national championships. You guys now, wrestling does have, you guys won a lot of national championships in your day. I don't want to say that you guys weren't, you were extremely successful. But it's not at Ohio State. College football makes the wheel turn. Do you think if it was football players and not wrestlers, it would have been handled differently?
I don't think so. There's actually football players in this.
Oh, there are.
in this
Okay.
case.
They just didn't mention that in the documentary last night. Okay.
There's a lot of guys, again, Torg, a lot of guys are John Does in the case. And so, yes, there was a lot of football guys. And I think there's going to be a lot more coming forward after this, frankly.
I was told there's a big named person that is kind of gone forward. Do you think that more people will come forward now? Because they say there's more, and they're just people are afraid to come forward.
Well, let's do the numbers. The guy was there 20 years and saw multiple patients every day, and every time we saw him, he wanted to see our genitals. Every time. I dislocated my knuckle, pinky knuckle, one day in practice. I went downstairs to get it, popped into place, and I remember he popped it in place, and he wanted to do a genital exam, and I looked at him and I'm like, Doc, enough, and just went back up to practice. Every time he wanted, he had an excuse. There was always a reason. There was always this, that, and the other, and it just, again.
Did he ever not clear anybody? Because they might have said no.
I know he pressured a lot of guys. Absolutely. He said, if you don't do this.
Wow.
It happened. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah, my senior year, I won nationals. He messed with me big time towards the end.
Yeah.
Even with all your success.
I'm trying to win a national title, and I didn't really want to go in there and see him.
Right.
I got a friend that, I've talked to, over the last 7 years, Torg, you can imagine, I've talked to hundreds of guys. One of my buddies wanted to get into, wanted to go med school. And in order to get into med school, he had to have a reference written. And so he goes to see Strauss, and Strauss told him he needed to do a full body exam to get it done.
This?
I'm not going to mention names, but it very credible and doesn't surprise me at all. A full body exam to get a letter so this kid could get in med school. And he's a physician today. And those are the kind of stories. It's not one guy. Those are the kind of stories you can talk thousands. I go back to that number. 20 years, 15. I mean, he was seeing multiple sports, but also general student population. There are thousands of guys that were affected by him, many of which have not wanted to come forward for one reason or the other, and it happened. Here it is for the world to see for the first time, and the impact. I think the impact is going to be more guys are going to say, you know what, I can do this. I had an email today just before we came in. Guy was John Doe. He says, I'm ready to put my name on this.
Can they get into the lawsuit still?
I don't know the answer to that, frankly, but I think, like I said, it's
why would they come forward then?
I think just guys want to
get it off.
They just want to support us, support the truth. It's all about truth.
Guys, hang around for a few more minutes because I got I want to get into the legality of it.
Yeah,
and when and if this will ever even see a courtroom.
Yeah, so let's take a quick break, and if you're just tuning in, the documentary George Clooney put together, Surviving OSU, with the survivors, victims of Dr. Strauss, the OSU team doctor, 15 different sports. It's a must-watch. We're talking to Mike DiSabato and first ever UFC heavyweight champion Mark Coleman in studio. They were a big part of the documentary last night. We'll take a quick break and more on QFM 96. The documentary Surviving OSU. We have OSU wrestlers Mark Coleman and Mike DiSabato in. And it was the documentary of the survivors, the victims of Dr. Richard Strauss. This went on. OSU first found out in 1979. Probably went on before that, up until he left the university in 1998, where they kind of forced him to, they said he retired, but he kind of forced him to finally step aside in 98. So this thing went on. This stuff went on for 20 years at Ohio State.
And Mark, you mentioned not just a Big Ten or an Ohio State thing. This is nationally. I mean, how many programs did you say? 10 universities have similar?
About 10 lawsuits cross country now.
Well,
Yeah.
I'll give you some examples. You got Michigan State, obviously, which is the big
The
one,
famous.
which led to us coming forward. You got Penn State and Sandusky. You got there's one right now that's currently blowing up at Indiana under Bobby Knight, a guy, Dr. Bamba. Same thing, unnecessary prostate exams. And the big one, the one I point to the most is Michigan. We came forward in March of 2018. About 4 months later, actually, it was July 18th. I remember the dates. July 18th, 2018. A couple wrestlers in Michigan brought their deal forward. This guy at Michigan, his name was Anderson, Dr. Anderson. He was there for 30 years.
Yeah.
30 years, right under Bo Schembechler. He was the main doctor. Strauss wasn't the main doctor. Dr. Bob Murphy was the head guy, the head physician at Ohio State.
Did he know?
Yes.
All right.
Everyone knew Torg. Everyone. And there's documents to support everyone knew.
Yeah.
So up at Michigan, this guy was seeing a who's who of Michigan athletics. And when I say a who's who, just pull out the last
Big names.
the biggest of big. And, unnecessary genital and prostate exam. He was doing prostate exams on 18-year-old kids. Really? And so, Michigan in 2022 settled their case.
Yeah, they rather quickly.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. And so, Michigan State settled their case. Penn State, there was just a settlement up at Columbia University for $775 million. A doctor was doing unnecessary exams on female, not just athletes, but general student population. Big case at USC, I believe, a couple years ago.
Jeez.
So yeah, it's institutional neglect and indifference.
Let's touch on the coaches, because a lot of times when you're recruited to a university, the parents say, okay, this coach is going to take care of my kid, right? This coach is going to look out for my kid. The coaches knew, all of them knew. In the documentary you guys mentioned off the air, you did not know about this female fencing coach. She was coaching a male's team.
Yeah.
And for 10 years, this fencing coach at Ohio State fought for her athletes, where she was constantly going to the athletic directors, constantly going above her. We need to stop this. This guy is doing inappropriate things. And then they said, well, we need proof. Well, no one wanted to go on record because they knew they would be end of scholarship.
Drummed out.
Yeah.
And are you guys surprised there was only one coach who fought?
Well,
She fought for 10 years.
She was Charlotte Reminick, was her name, and she was a female coach of a male team, fencing team. So, yeah, she was going to the university on a regular basis and writing as well. Like, this needs to stop. And again, I think it was John Lombardo at the time told her that you have no credible evidence. We need someone to come. We need a 18, 19, 20-year-old kid to go on the record. And think about it, guys. You got a head coach of one of the teams, and are you going to think that she's not sharing her experience with all the other coaches?
Right.
She wasn't just sharing it with university administrators.
Yeah.
She was certainly sharing her experience with all the coaches. When they did the report, Perkins-Coie investigation report back in 2018, Perkins-Coie, these are independent phone calls they were getting. Over 22 coaches testified in that report that they knew of Strauss's behavior, and again, it did nothing. There was there were conversations all over the athletic department about this dude. And there's a document in this case where one of the trainers at the time, I'm not going to use any names, but he put it in writing that this is a time bomb waiting to go off.
Let's talk about your coaches. Russ Hellickson, by the way, if you don't know, he's on the tournaments. My Kids in Wrestling. Every tournament, youth tournament, it's the Russ Hellickson Invitational. It's everywhere across this city. That's his business, I'm assuming, right? You do a video. Let's go back to 2017. You guys do a video with Russ. You tell the coach he knew what's going on. So I saw the video. You guys, I might have been one of the first guys to see it. And we played clips on the show and probably put you guys on or put you on, Mike, at the time. And I watched this video, and Russ is just as big as this video as you guys are, right?
Yeah.
The three of you talking about it's about 20 minutes, correct?
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, Russ tells you guys in the documentary, you guys, 20 players sit down, athletes. He says, I'm with you guys. And all of a sudden, he ghosts you guys.
Well,
what have you guys talked to him since then? Do you think there's a guess on the reasoning? I mean, why would you say I'm with you guys? Do that? He did the video. And then all of a sudden, was it because of his business? Did he get paid off? I mean, what's the story there?
There's a lot of speculation. Mike can tell you about that. But I remember that day, me, Mike, and Russ were ready to do this video, and I was a nervous wreck. I was drinking back then, and I was telling Russ that I'm really nervous. I don't know if I should do this. And he just looked at me and said, hey, Mark, just tell the truth and everything will be fine. And, I calmed down and I did it. And then Russ told the truth. And then I think Jim Jordan.
We'll get to Jim next.
The situation with Jim Jordan is why Russ took back his statement. He turned into a coward to protect Jim Jordan.
Because Jim Jordan contacted people.
He blew it. He's got to be ashamed of himself right now.
Yeah. Jim Jordan was contacting people, Jerry, and they mentioned in the documentary to try to, hey, you're going to destroy me.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'll expand on that. Jim called multiple people, including Mark's elderly parents, and, encouraged them to have Mark retract his statements.
I felt threatened that Jim Jordan was going to do something to me. He had that kind of power that.
I can tell you, everyone listening, for a fact, because my kids train with Adam, Mike's brother. Remember the jiu-jitsu place in right up the street here? Right. I know. I saw the text. I saw the phone calls. I know for a fact, firsthand, that Jim Jordan did do this. There's no debate about it. It's in the report. He did it. We'll get to him though. But so Russ ghosts you guys, and then
what happened? Let me add to that, Torg. So March 2018, I go in front of university officials. I tell them, this happened. In February, go back a month, I went to Russ and sat down with Russ and said, this is happening. I wanted you to know before it happens so you're prepared, you understand. And he was supportive. He wasn't questioning this. In June, the university was gaslighting us at the time. And so I wanted to put this stuff and document it. And so I hired a production company. I had Mark, myself, Russ, and a nursing student sit down. We produced the video. That was June. July 3rd, 2018, NBC News called me, and they said, listen, Jordan's now denying this for the second time. And that's when I made the statement, listen, I love Jim Jordan. He's my coach, and I consider him a friend, and I have a lot of respect for him, but you're not allowed to deny this. Yeah. It happened. You don't. He wasn't guilty of covering up per se, but he did know that there were unnecessary genital exams, unnecessary prostate exams, and the dude was taking 6-7 showers a week. So,
would it be, Mike, fair to say, we'll wrap up the Jim Jordan stuff, we'll take a break, and then we'll talk about what's going on. Would it be fair to say if Jim Jordan just came out and said, listen, I was an assistant.
In the very beginning.
I heard the rumors.
Right.
I didn't know what to do. I was a young guy. I made some mistakes. I'm sorry about that. I just didn't know what to do. Everybody knew. I apologize about it, and then if he just said that, it would have ended, correct?
Well, yes, and he still has that opportunity, Torg. I mean, this documentary's coming out. What's disappointing the most about Jim's behavior is, even if you didn't know, and it's been 7 years, and not once has he called. he doesn't have to call me, but there's a lot of guys in this case that are suffering in silence.
Try to turn your brother against you.
Well, that's, he had the audacity to call my brother July 4th, the day after the NBC News, and asked Adam to take sides against me. And that, as you know, you never take sides with anyone outside the family.
No, and you guys, I not to get too, but I don't think you guys were like the best of.
Well, we were, we were boys.
And still, even then, Adam says, like, listen, even if I'm not talking to my brothers, I'm not going to turn against my brother.
Well, he wasn't the only one. Another high-profile Ohio State athlete who won multiple national championships and supporter of Jim Jordan called my other brother, Leo, and suggested he take sides with him. These guys were all over Columbus.
Leo runs the restaurant, correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So with Jim Jordan, here's the thing, Jerry, and they show this in the documentary. So they're interviewing Jim Jordan, and it's like ABC News, it's Fox News, all these people. No matter what the question was, here's the thing that's just sick about Jim Jordan. Brett Baer asked him about something like, do you think this happened? And every response was, I had nothing to do with it. I didn't know. You could ask Jim Jordan, like, hey, who do you like in the game today? I didn't know. I didn't like it. He was so quick to all he wanted to do is clear his
volumes.
name.
Yeah.
He didn't care about what do you think of the victims? What would you say to him? I didn't know. Brett Baer, I think, asked him, or one of the reporters, and it's in the doc. Like, what do you say to, if you reached out? I don't know. I had nothing. Every response from Jim Jordan's like, I didn't know. I didn't hear. I had nothing to do about it. And they go, well, now that it's true, it came out. What do you say to the victim? I didn't have anything to do with it.
Yeah,
and
he doubled down.
He's so defensive.
You tell a lie in the
scumbag.
beginning, and then you have to stick,
down.
and then it just gets worse and worse.
But it's just how he handled it. That's the problem. Is I don't care if you're the biggest Jim Jordan fan or Republican or not. It's a human being here, and the way he handled this situation, it's not right.
Listen,
it's not right.
Victims were both Republican, Democrat, Independent, white,
I don't think he
black.
cared what political party.
This is not about politics and art. This is about.
But for Jim, it is though, Mike. And that's the sad thing.
Absolutely, which is unfortunate and pathetic.
The HBO documentary is called Surviving OSU, about Dr. Strauss, the survivors, the victims, the whole story. I want to tell, there's a lot more to this. So I want to tell people, if especially you live in Columbus, pay the $9.99. If you don't have HBO, get it, educate yourself. It's absolutely true. And we want to point out, too, when this started coming out, right? So Mike and Mark were in studio. Mike DiSabato and Mark Coleman are in studio. When they first, kind of the whistleblowers, and Mike gets everyone together, and kudos to you, Mike. That took a lot of guts to do that. When it started coming out, OSU hired a third-party investigative team. And what happened after that, guys, were you guys surprised, and then we're going to get to current day, that it was bigger? It was 10 times bigger than anybody even thought it was when this third-party investigation came out, and it was like, holy crap, what was it, 177 rapes?
There was 170, to date, 170 reported accounts of rape, one of which you'll hear in the documentary. When the report,
he drugged people, folks.
Sedated them, and then boom, And so the report, Perkins Coie report, was commissioned in April, right after we came forward. In that report, they didn't reach out to folks. Perkins Coie basically was receiving calls for folks that wanted to testify that this happened to them. And in that report, which came out May that year, 177 guys had come in. That's a fraction. I mean, it's a fraction. There's thousands of guys that went through this. The guy was there 20 years.
Yeah, were you relieved when you heard, Clooney, he's a heavyweight. When he got a hold of this story and said, hey, we're going to move forward with this film, both of you had to be pleased because this goes a long way. Will we see more movement on the side of the university because of this film that dropped last night? Do you think,
it certainly...
You think so?
Yeah. You would hope so, yeah.
Now, Mark, you're still... Some people settled, some people did not. Correct me if I'm wrong, Mark, you did not settle. A lot of people in the documentary said, I won't settle because OSU will not admit they knew. How long? You just don't care about the money? You're in it till they just want admission of guilt? Just want this to be... You'll go, if it goes another 10 years, you'll wait 10 years?
Well, I do care about the money. Let's be honest here. I want all the admission, all that stuff, but I'm a fighter. I want paid what I deserve. So I'll keep fighting. I mean, yeah, I take the money. I need the money, but
So outside of the original settlement, they have never come back. Because they told they tell the Ohio Supreme Court, hey, we're going to set up a settlement fund, and it was peanuts compared to the other schools. So some people took it, and then Mark, there's about half of guys like you did not take the money.
Mark, but one of the reasons that I and others settled early, it was a partial settlement. We have what's called a most favored nations clause in our settlement, which means, if and when other folks settle at a later date, the folks that settled prior will be compensated for any difference that happens. So I'm not settled. I mean, none of us are settled. We're partially settled.
Mm-hmm.
And, I considered it, frankly, at the time, a down payment.
I wish I would have known that.
Yeah,
but I would have.
Well, it wasn't offered. It wasn't offered to anyone at the time. It was just offered to our group, and our attorneys.
Yeah.
Pushed us really
hard. So there
hard
isn't
to
one
settle.
main attorney. There's a bunch of attorneys in this.
Multiple.
Wouldn't it benefit you guys? I'm not an attorney, but I play one on the radio. If there was one attorney,
well, yeah, but
that guy in the dock seemed pretty bright.
Yeah, well, Michigan grad as well.
Yeah, he's not your attorney.
Not my attorney. I mean, but Harvard undergrad, Michigan Law School.
Because Gloria Allred got involved in this, correct?
That was 2018. She flew into Columbus. We went to the State House. She made a statement about supporting us. Representative at the time from Youngstown, Joe Schiavone. He deserves a heck of a lot of credit for standing up and attempting to get the legislature to do something for us. And
Colleen Marshall fighting the good fight at NBC4 when so many were quiet in the local media.
She is an absolute bad ass.
Sure.
And
an attorney herself.
She has been there since day one. She was in the documentary. She flew, she was in Tribeca with us last week. This woman, I mean, you talk about a journalist, a true journalist.
Right.
And to do that in this city,
risky.
It's you're standing up. You're not taking a knee to the powers that be across this city, and she is just phenomenal. We are forever grateful to this. She is extraordinary.
So what does the future look like when you talk about this? The documentary's out. What do you hope happens from here forward?
Truth, justice, and you can't have justice until everyone's settled. And again, I'm just the guys are suffering. Torg, it's been 7 years, and now it's starting to be deposition. All the chaos is going to start now. Depositions are starting to be. Jim Jordan was served a subpoena to appear for deposition, so that's happening later this month, early next month.
Well, he's all in on that lie now, isn't he?
Well,
yeah.
Let's see.
What's Russ going to do?
Let's see.
What is Russ going to do? I mean, I just feel sorry for that guy a little bit. That's what Jim Jordan said. He feels sorry for me. I don't need your sympathy, Jim. I feel sorry for you, hiding behind God.
Right.
Jesus loves him.
Yeah. So there's and this is. Do you think now, since the documentary aired, have you guys checked social media? Are people bashing you? Are you afraid to oh God, I got to deal with this again? Because they showed last night the documentary of all the tweets and Facebook posts people were making and saying about these guys.
Yeah.
And do you expect another round of hate to you guys?
I could care freaking less.
Yeah.
Well, it's been nothing but positive. I'm overwhelmed by the positives. Probably the coolest thing I got yesterday was a text from Bernie Kosar, who's become a friend, and Bernie just reached out to support and if you're listen, I said this on a talk show last week. How do you not scream at this? Torg, at the time,
Right.
people were like, this dude's crazy. He's this, that. Well, guess what? If I wasn't screaming at the time, this could have been buried.
So you
Right. And when it is all said and done and you're an old guy and you're looking back, you can sleep at night because you know that you did what was right.
It's not only sleep.
I mean, it
but
makes it easier when right is on your side.
right is always right.
Yeah, right.
Right is always right.
Yep.
And again, this for me personally has been, today is the day where I starting to feel like, I'm finally at a place where I can really step up and be a peacock and just, it's been a rough 7 years to say the least.
Yeah, well, good luck to you guys,
God
man.
bless
We're
you,
friends.
man. God bless you.
We'll talk off the air, and then if anything happens, you guys will come on and we'll educate people and
Catch up.
And best of luck to you guys, man. And I strongly recommend people get HBO Max, get the streets, spend the $9, especially. And two, do you think it would help if people contacted Ted Carter, Mike DeWine? Would that help if people reached out and Mike DeWine in the documentary? Mike DeWine's front and center in part of the documentary.
I encourage,
because the board is still trying to fight this.
I encourage folks to exercise their voice, whoever that may be. It's again, watch it and your conscience be your guide. And I just think we should all have a conversation about this, especially at the highest levels of both our state and national leadership. This is an epidemic. Tim Tebow, I go to this. He was on a podcast about a week ago, and he pointed to the fact there's over 100,000 IP addresses in the U.S. alone that they've identified of folks downloading child porn under with subjects under the age of 12.
Wow, that's insane. Well, thanks for coming in studio, guys.
On a lighter note to end here, Mark, you don't still think you can take me, do you?
Pretty much think I can take everybody still.
You're UFC. I was KFC.
Yeah.
So, a little different.
Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks, man.